Hey guys, what's up? It's Nth Dimensional here today, and we are going to let the hunt begin. So, there is a new event in EVE Online, going from the 30th of March to the 13th of April. So 2 weeks. What is this event? Well, it's the hunt, of course. So the hunt has been going on for about, I think, 4 years in EVE, and it is basically an Easter event. So we're mostly interested in the exploration part of this event. And so I'm going to give a quick little initial overview of what that is and our kind of thoughts going into it. And we're going to give you a nice little walkthrough of how to do it from start to finish. So let's dig in. We have just some general information here. The combat sites is very similar to the combat sites you've seen in the latest events. I'm not going to work too much on that. We have the exploration sites. So it says, during the hunt, Capsuleers looking to take a break from combat sites can visit special exploration sites where hacking challenges will not only provide a means to secure standard loot, but also a chance to gain items normally only available through combat. I'm not exactly sure what that means, because I don't think that claim is true, considering I know what the loot is looking like. But that's just an interesting sentence. And then it says, again, these sites are limited to T1, T2, and faction frigates and destroyers. So no bringing anything above a cruiser, and no bringing your favorite jackdaw, right? So other than that, it says PvP implants drop. So if you're in PvP and you get potted, your implants will drop for the next 2 weeks. That's a nice little bonus for you murderous fellas out there. Daily login bonus, very standard stuff. 50% off 3 months Omega and 3 months multi-character training. Again, very standard. A very nice deal. I like that one. Special Abyssal Proving Grounds event. Looks like it's going to be 3v3 for T1 destroyers this time around. And then we have the NES Easter sale. And I just want to have a shout out to the Vital Shift that is going on sale in this event. I think it's a very cool looking skin set. And so you might want to get your hands on some of those. Anyways, let's hop right in to the game. And what we're going to be doing is everything from the beginning. So we're going to undock and everything that we need to do to complete an exploration site. So a little overview of that is we're going to undock. We're going to find a Easter egg or a regular capsule. We're going to find it through the D-scan technique. We're going to warp down to it. We're going to blow it up. We're going to loot it. That will get us a key. And then we need to scan down a site in order to warp to a acceleration gate that takes the key that we found. Then we warp into the actual hacking site where we hack 6 data cans and get the goodies. And that's all there is to it, right? So let's go ahead and take a little quick talk about our fit. So we're using the pacifier for this, and I think the pacifier is definitely going to be the best hull. That said, there are only a few things that you need to know and have in order to do this successfully. That being a probe scanner of strength, at least 75 strength. So the site that we are doing is a level 3 difficulty site. And in order to scan those, I would recommend at least 75 strength. That's not actually very difficult to achieve, but just keep it in mind. Other than that, we need some kind of data analyzer. We chose to go with the Ligature Integrated Analyzer. This is a fit that we are using currently for all of our little exploration activities. So there's a little extra fits, bits and bobs there, and I'll link this fit in the description. But all you need, again, is a probe scanner with 75 strength, a data analyzer, some way to do damage, whether it's just like a piddly little rocket or some drones, anything that can do damage to a capsule. And that's it. So let's get right to it, shall we? We're going to go ahead and undock. And now we need to find an egg. We have our D-scan up, and we are looking for mysteriously colored eggs or capsules. We need to make sure, though, and this one tripped me up, so pay attention here. In our overview settings / directional scanner settings, we need to make sure that we can actually see these capsules. So you go ahead and go to your hamburger menu on your overview. You hit the open overview settings. Make sure you're on tab presets tab and then types tab. and then you're going to search for capsule. And you need to make sure that the irregular capsule is checked off or X'd off, and then make sure that you save this setting as well. And then lastly, you need to make sure on your directional scanner that you are showing results for a overview that can see these eggs. So let's go find one. We don't see anything on our D-scan currently, so we're just going to warp. We have a short little path. It's 7 systems, so hopefully we should find everything we need in those 7 systems. And I will be releasing a more detailed guide about how to do the D-scanning technique and overview to find these eggs. So whatever we do here, I'm going to just kind of quickly go over it. If you are good at D-scanning, you will kind of get how to do this. If you are not good at D-scanning, keep your eyes peeled. There will be a video on how to do that coming out within the next day, I believe. So here on our D-scan, we do actually see this mysterious green capsule, and we're going to just reduce our D-scan by half. We still see it, so we go down to 1. We no longer see it, so we increase, and we see the systems that are the celestial bodies that have now been added by that increase, because what's highlighted. And then we go ahead and reduce our angle down to 5 degrees. We hold down the V key, V for Victor, and then we start clicking on these celestial bodies. It looks like it's over here, so we click on this to center our camera. We go ahead and zoom down, and we warp to the planet, because the planet is going to be in the center. So the egg could be at any of these things. And once we get to the middle, we can go ahead and increase our angle up to 180 degrees. We go ahead and scan this direction. We see that it is over here. We eliminate half the celestials here. Side note, if you're wondering how to best win Guess Who, this is how you do it. You eliminate half of the options every time. So here we can see that there's half there. We can go ahead and move down to 90. So now we see that it's going to be either here or here. At this point, we can go down to 5 degrees, and we can scan here and here. Looks like it's here. And we warp. We can go ahead and zoom in just to make sure that we're not overlapping anything. Anything that is highlighted is being descanned. And so once we get here, we'll be on grid with a mysterious capsule. Go ahead and approach and lock it up, and then blow it to smithereens. Looks like it takes about 3 rocket volleys of the pacifier. I guess technically these are Tech 2 rockets, but it's not a whole lot of damage. So here we get an acceleration key and a corpse. I don't believe the corpse is useful for anything, but now we have our acceleration key. And now we're going to start scanning and looking for these sites. We can see that there's nothing to scan in this system, so we're going to go ahead and warp to the next system. And here is kind of where, this is why the pacifier is so important. We have a rig in it, but with that hyperspatial rig, it is going 14 AUs a second in warp, which is absolutely massive. And because this kind of event does require you to warp around a lot comparatively, it will save us a lot of time by using a ship that can warp around quickly. So if you're not doing it in pacifier, maybe the pacifier feels a little bit too expensive for you, I would recommend at least a kind of an exploration ship, because those will typically have higher warp speeds. Or you could also probably do it in an interceptor if you wanted. The thing with the interceptor is that it doesn't have a very large cargo bay, which we'll get into a little bit later when we talk about the loot. But suffice it to say, every container that you hack will have at least 10 M3 in it. And it's, spoiler alert, it's not very good M3. So maybe you'll just want to only pick the good stuff and reduce your weight, or maybe you'll just want to bulk haul everything. It's kind of up to you, but make sure that warp speed is very important. We're running into a whole lot of systems that actually have nothing to scan. which is very curious. I would say that on average, every 2 systems has one of these combat sites. I've found systems where there have been 3 of these sites in the same system. So let's talk about the sites. They are a level 3 signature, and they are listed, interestingly, as a combat site, even though they're not combat. So here we're going to use the 4AU technique. Again, I'm going to just kind of gloss over how we're scanning our techniques and whatnot. Definitely come check us out on twitch.tv, same username in the Dimensional. We stream Eve every day, starting approximately 1700 Eve time. And we concentrate on exploration content and kind of always being on the cutting edge, learning new techniques, tips, tricks, all that good stuff. So we end up making a lot of good money and learning things here. All right, so we found a event site. As you can see, it's a level 3 combat site. It's called a Garista's Secure Storage. To my knowledge, these are all the same sites in Null, High, and Low Sec. And I've heard they spawn in wormholes, but I have no confirmed results of that. So take that as you will. So we warp onto this acceleration gate, and then in order to activate it, we use one of our keys up and we warp in. Something very interesting to note here is that where we warp into is not dead space at all. You can have friendly people warp to you if they're in your fleet, and you can actually combat scan people that are in here and steal their loot, or it's not even their loot. So if you're in a high density, high sec or low sec area, you can definitely use combat scanning to your advantage here and basically circumvent finding the keys, because you just find people who are running and have already found the keys for you. So let's talk about the loot and the hacking nodes. One other thing is that, again, unconfirmed, but I believe the same thing would take place on the second room of the combat sites. So I think only one person will ever need to use a key there. Again, unconfirmed, but you should probably be able to warp to your friends in the second room of the combat sites. So, on to the hacking. All of these boards are going to be green boards. What that means is that they're very easy to do. All of the harmful nodes here are going to be the same 50 life and 20 strength. So that's why we in particular have a analyzer and setup combo that gives us 50 strength, so that we can just one-shot first strike all of these nodes, and we will never actually take damage doing any of these boards. So very easy to kind of not think. If you're in low sec or more dangerous space, you can keep an eye on your directional scanner for hostiles. But yeah, just know all of these boards are going to be very easy to hack. So even if you're not a very confident or proficient hacker, you should still be able to take this just fine. So here's what we get out of our first box. And this is kind of a very authentic showing of the loot. We get some carbon, we get some random data site stuff, and we get an overseer effect. In this case, it's an 8th tier. Altogether, this is about 1.2 estimated value. And it's 14.7 M3, so basically 15 M3. That's a lot for an exploration frigate, or for any frigate in general. I do know that the T1 exploration frigates do have very large cargo holds. I believe it's like 400 base, and so it might be actually a very good idea to instead go with just a T1 Explorer. So yeah, 400 cargo capacity there. So keep an eye out on that, and maybe test that if you want to just take all of the goodies regardless of how heavy they are, or if you don't have a good place to drop them off. So let's go ahead and take all these and see what we get. And the site layout is always going to be the same. All the sites look exactly the same. There's always going to be 6 cans. So here again, very standard overseer effect, random data site, stuff, and a carbon. Also note that if you, my initial findings might need a little bit of refinement here, but if you do cherry pick one of these sites, then it looks like it despawns an hour after you hack the first can. So we did limited testing there, but we found that if you just hack one can, the site does stay around for an hour. And also, if you cherry pick a site and someone else comes to the site, they are still going to warp to the acceleration gate, and you can make them essentially waste a key getting into the main part of the site and then see that it has been cherry picked. So if you're a bad person, use this to your advantage. If you're a good person, be on the lookout because you might get screwed by this. Also, shout outs to my fellow bad people. So here we loot another thing. Again, very similar. We get some data stuff. We get an overseer effect. And if you can kind of get the idea of where this is going, you might be right. You might be right. Have we done a lot? It looks like we're at 17 minutes worth of stuff here. We'll say that about 14 minutes of it is actually doing like flying around and whatnot. And I would say that we're pretty proficient. Here is another. It looks like we got a book. So yeah, just we got some fireworks. Ooh. And on to the last can. So there's kind of a lot of effort and caveats that go into doing these sites. And I wouldn't recommend only doing these sites. I think it might be viable to do them in addition to like your other exploration content. That's what we're kind of integrating them into what we're doing. But here is the last can. Again, very similar. This is what you're going to see in a large majority of the boxes. I've found that you will get about 10 to maybe 13 million ISK per site. But then again, you need to realize that that is going to be very heavy stuff. So doing one site, we are already at 100 M3. So let's talk about the other loot that we have found. We have done a good handful of sites, and we have only found, I think, 2 skins and a basic cerebral accelerator. There are reports of people getting Gecko blueprint copies, so that could be worth a lot of money. You could get the better cerebral accelerators. That could be worth a decent chunk of change. You can get maybe some good skins. That might be a little bit of money. But overall, those are all going to be pretty rare to get. And you're going to waste a lot of time getting very heavy items that are not worth a lot of ISK. So I don't think these are very good. Just to put it plainly, if you have a lot of places that you can dump your cargo in, especially if they are not NPC areas, so if they are instead player-owned stations where you can just dump your cargo without going into the station, that can help speed up these events. But then again, you will have to go back in like a hauler type ship and pick up all of your loot that you now have strewn across a good variety of systems. But yeah, that's about what we've gotten so far. I hope this has been helpful. Definitely, I'll link below. Check out the Twitch. We will continue to be doing this event. We'll learn more about it. We'll hopefully get more proficient at it. We have collected kind of a little backstock of keys, so we have 4 currently. So essentially, we can find these sites and do them as part of our regular exploration content. Also, sometimes you do get more keys in the sites themselves, so every key that you find is maybe worth like actually 1.25 keys. Yeah. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, make sure you list them on down below. And if you liked the video, please hit that like button. Helps me out. I am obviously a new content creator, but we're trying to improve a little bit every video and every day. And I hope that you've enjoyed. All right. Ciao for now. Bye.